Always forget that. 5 o'clock, so we'll call this meeting the order of the Morgan City Water Advisory Board, September 20th, 2022. I am Tony London. I am a member of the Morgan City Council. I've been asked to conduct this meeting and facilitate this meeting. We have Walter Boyce and Brian Boyce from the Morgan Secondary Water Association in the meeting, as well as Darren Perks from Dominion Engineering, correct, Darren? And we'd also like to welcome, is it Jack?
That is correct. Yep. Jack Wegler.
Farley Eskelson. And so welcome to the meeting. Let me just take a real brief moment and explain the reason for this meeting. Been on the city council a few years, and years ago, what was happening, and we would get to a subdivision or some sort of a development, and we'd get quite a ways into the process. And then we'd realize that we had some sort of an issue with a ditch that ran through the property, or maybe something to do with secondary water or city culinary water. And so to alleviate that, we created this water advisory board and are conducting these water advisory meetings so that we can get anything taken care of, any problems taken care of before we get too far down the road or too far into the process. So that's the reason for these meetings. And so typically at this meeting, we have representatives from the Morgan Secondary Water Association, Morgan City, which I'm representing, and the board consists of someone from all 5 ditch companies, correct?
That's correct.
Walter, but we only have what? Three representatives here, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll go ahead and conduct this meeting anyway and take care of some business here. So again, that's the purpose of these meetings. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. So the only agenda item we have here on tonight's water advisory meeting is item 1, and it concerns McDonald's looking to build a franchise over on 297 East, 300 North in Morgan, Utah. So let's begin by, do we have any issues with existing ditches on this property that you're aware of?
Not that I know of.
I'm not aware of anything as far as an existing ditch either.
Tilray should be the one that would
Yeah.
have maybe come through there at one time, but it doesn't come through there now.
So I
Know of, and that would be, I'm not even sure. You still over that? Who's over that ditch?
Yeah, they're combined, but we've never had an issue with this.
Doesn't go down through this property, I'm sure, does it? No, I think.
so we should be
it's the other
clear,
way, so it should be clean of ditches.
should be
I
clear
know
of
we
that.
don't have one that far down.
Yeah, and as far as Morgan City is concerned in the culinary water, it's everything is okay as far as the city is concerned as well. So the issue that we'd be discussing tonight for a few minutes would be of the secondary water. So Walter, would you take just a minute and explain what's required of a developer as far as the secondary water is concerned?
Well, he had to run a lateral in and a meter and a box. The box has to have our valve and then his valve and a drain up and has to be lockable. And then now the city wants a meter, so he'd have to put a separate meter in there. He doesn't necessarily have to do that until he starts to build. In fact, I would put the box in now so that you knew where everything's gonna be, but I wouldn't put the meter in because it probably won't survive your construction. That doesn't mean you shouldn't get one and have it stored somewhere, but and we can show you what meter we like, what we prefer.
And the reason for that is by 2030, all of the secondary systems are required to have their secondary water metered. So just as well get ahead of the game, and get the meter in as soon as possible or whenever you can. Also, water shares. Walter, what's the requirement there?
Well, he should have half a share, but he doesn't have, from the story I got, he doesn't have one.
So
So, but he needs to put the service in and the lateral in, so it's there,
but they need a half a share of water. They need to come up with a half a share of water.
well, they don't have, they could put the other thing in and then we'd worry about the half a share next year. Or, you know, when they get it, or
Okay,
I guess he could work a deal with the city to use culinary until he gets by, because culinary runs down the industrial road, but, or we don't, you'd have to come off of ours, but we need ours in there, just when you leave or somebody else takes over, we do have a service.
okay.
And if you find water, we have no use, no problem running our water. You know, it's just that's something you have to supply, because we're not in a water renting business. We don't have a store of it. Generally, whoever builds has to supply the water.
So that's an issue that eventually we'll have to take care of, but,
Mhm.
but we.
We've already had, there's several workarounds I can remember that
Yeah.
cities,
So we probably wouldn't let that be necessarily be a holdup right now, so,
we'll be turned off pretty soon.
and not on again till what, April?
Yeah.
April, so we have some,
Company startup.
so we do have 6 months, some time to work on that half a share, so. So we can have that discussion with the city, as Walter mentioned, so. There was another, is McDonald's is leasing the property, is going to be leasing the property, is that correct?
Yes. Jack, this is a leased property, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
And it's, as I understand it, it's leased from, it looks like it's leased from an RFM real estate, I assume it's Ridley's that own the property.
Their real estate
Okay,
entity. but
and
it's
Ridley's
leased.
does not have any water to go with his property.
No. Jack, can you weigh in on that as well? We did ask that question of them. I believe the response was no water. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, no, that's correct. They did not have water share to give us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So, I guess my question would be then, is the Secondary Water Association, are we okay to go ahead and let them to begin to develop their project and,
Yeah, let's go ahead and get the services in and the boxes and get it all checked.
and,
What you'll be is if you don't have any water, why, we'll just lock you off. And when you get water, why, then we can unlock you, or you can cut some cross deal with the city, and I stay out of those deals. That's between
Yeah.
you and them.
sure.
Yeah.
I stay out of that.
Okay, so
I think we can work something out.
If you can find water, why, then we can transfer it over into, we take all ours out of the river, but it all comes from the 5 ditch companies.
Okay,
So-
which water shares are acceptable from which ditch companies?
Any of the
Any-
5 ditch.
any of the
companies,
Which,
any of
which
them.
are, I don't know the names, so.
East Richfield, North
Richfield?
Morgan,
Welch,
Field Ditch,
Okay,
Mill Race,
that's the same.
yeah, Welch,
Yeah, the Welch Ditch.
how many did we give you?
yes, that's 4. Richfield, Morgan, well, Bill Race is the same as the other, Welch, so we're actually missing 2.
So,
South Morgan,
there's 5 that are part of the Secondary Water Association. And so a half a share would meet the
That piece
requirement,
half a share enough.
would meet the requirements of the Secondary Water Association.
So could we also get water from any Echo shares, East Canyon shares? Lost Creek shares?
Yeah,
I'm sure he could, if he could,
you can
Echo.
get them, you'd have to buy them, but that's your deal.
yeah.
You can buy that. I think a lot of them, they don't sell it in a share, they don't sell it in less than a share, but that's all right,
Then you have a half share, so.
you'd have a half a share.
But no, that's a legitimate source as well, so.
so I was gonna ask about the Weaver Basin water, if that was an option.
Weaver Basin normally lease, they don't sell shares.
They-
Yeah.
Yeah, they
You
lease.
pay a yearly fee if you go with.
And I don't like tracking that.
So,
I don't have to be the one to turn you on and off. You're kind of,
But can-
in other words, if you rent water, then I gotta track it.
Can you get like a 5 or 3 year lease?
Whatever you can get's okay with me. You know, but just realize the tracking's on you, and if I catch you with no water, then I'll just lock you off till you fix it.
yeah, and I'm not real sure what sort of blocks they lease water in either. It might be more than,
I don't know that because we don't deal with them.
it might be more than, a half a share. I'm sure it's more.
I
than
don't, any of the big reservoirs, if you could find somebody there that'll sell you half a share off a reservoir, that'd work.
Yeah,
And you just have to change your point of diversion to down where we take water
out of the river.
out of the river. I can give you the point of diversion. If you get that far, I can give you the point of diversion where you'd point it to.
Okay.
The nice thing about that, Darren, is that, we have until April or May to go over and find that share.
Figure it out.
And as
So-
we're building, we'll put the infrastructure in. It just would not be usable.
Yeah, so McDonald's is gonna be uncomfortable with not the unknown. They always like to know. What happens if we can't find a share? That's what I wanna know. What happens if we can't find this half share?
So you do have an option of not using secondary water and use culinary but it is more money to use culinary water.
So,
We don't
so
care if
we
you use
could,
culinary.
we could use the culinary on the landscape until they obtained a share.
Mhm.
Okay. that-
Yeah, you could.
So
okay.
there,
So-
so really is now not gonna be,
I don't think you're in any jeopardy of, not being able to proceed with this project because you lack the half a share of water.
When do you want to start this project? When you figuring on that?
tomorrow. No, just kidding.
As soon as we obtain a permit, they would love to be in a position to break ground as soon as the weather permits in late winter.
Okay.
So currently, just so this group knows, is they have already done a formal submittal. They're actually on tonight for a conditional use permit. It's already in review with engineer for the civic plans, so the ball's rolling.
Yeah, so, anything else?
No, other than if you use culinary, you'll have to use it off of the culinary service they give to you.
Right.
In other words, I can't put their culinary in my system.
Sure.
That's,
We don't want to do that.
we don't want that
Absolutely don't want to do
get
that.
started.
Yeah, no, we
So,
can certainly
We
do
want
it
them
different.
separate. So if you run culinary, you'll have to run a line off of your service from them.
Absolutely.
Everybody
And we
outside
put a
of the
backflow
freeway
on
uses culinary water.
Yeah.
bottles and-
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't push.
forever.
there. So on the pressure irrigation, how clean's that water? Are people filtering it before it goes into an irrigation?
Well, yeah,
System.
it's filtered, but it's filtered for secondary water, not
Yeah.
for culinary.
Don't drink it, Darren.
No, I just
And-
mean for our
and you don't-
irrigation
and you don't
system.
want
are
to- you
people
don't
typically
You want to
adding
buy a
an
really,
additional
really
filter?
fine screener, you're not gonna like yourself.
Okay,
Because you're getting toward the bottom end of that run. And that has a tendency to collect the crud coming down.
okay. Good
But
to know.
you realistically, we don't care if you put in a screen or not. It's just, if you don't put one in, you'll be fixing your sprinkler heads all the
A
time.
lot more often, sure, yeah.
Those little pop-up sprinkler heads, those little pop-up ones, it's got the little white or blue little filters in them.
Mhm.
I have to change mine about every year because they get pretty dirty, so.
Yeah, you put a screen in, just you try not to get too fine on or you won't get water because the screen will plug up.
Okay,
It's, it's a secondary system. It's not culinary. It's secondary and it just, that's what it is.
And it's good pressure,
You'll have good pressure,
really good
like,
pressure.
about what?
60 to 80.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
It is, it's really good pressure. Okay. Jack, do you have any questions?
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. I think the main concern that we had was, which Darren talked through, just starting this project without having a definite confirmed water source, but it seems like the culinary will satisfy that. So I guess that there's no opportunity to pay a fee in lieu or anything like that for this. Just not saying we would do that, but just wanted to know all of our kind of bases here.
Okay. Farley, do you have any questions? I don't know if you're trying to speak, Farley, but you're muted.
You may just be
Listening, okay. All right. Well, okay, Teresa, do we have any other business? Is that takes care of it? Thank you very much for coming.
When you get a set of plans, get with me, we'll get with you and me and redline it.
And we will,
So we can show